Welcome back to Beagle Eye Visions! We're gonna keep running this episode number 23, reference and appreciation. Yeah, we're gonna keep rocking it, learn more about, what giants these guys have stood on, because there's the quote, I know what I know because I stood on the shoulders of giants, and these guys are explaining some of the giants that they found through their journey of this knowledge. So I'm gonna keep roaming through this vault and roaming the wastelands, finding creatures. Sorry if you hear dogs in the background. It's Beagle Eye Visions. It's crazy over here. All right.
So.
Yeah, both of those people have influenced me. I know Jan definitely influenced me a lot. I really love his interviews that he does with the politicians and senators and things like that, because he just puts them right on the spot. And it's so great to see their expressions and how they get so confused over such a simple question. He just lays out a very simple question that should be answered, and he even takes them through the question when they can't answer it to help them understand, their folly in their thinking. And it's just really amazing because, you get this humor, which we should be able to laugh at certain things, especially stupidity at this level. But also you see how fake these political representatives really are. I mean, I saw Bernie Sanders on there one time, and I mean, he stormed out, and I think Jan actually kept recording him after the interview was done, and the things he says are just really, really hilarious. So for all the people that might be listening to support Bernie, or did support Bernie,
go watch that.
Definitely look into that interview, because it will show you exactly how retarded, and I mean that, like retarded he actually is in his presuppositions and in his understanding about things. So,
absolutely.
I mean, it just blows you away when you watch these people get tripped up over such simple things.
Yeah, you'll be surprised on some of the other people he's interviewed, and one of them is actually running for president right now, so you definitely got to see that. But I wanted to also say that was there anybody else that you were going to bring up?
There's a couple other people I could mention. I really enjoy Jay Dyer's work. He's an author and video podcast, video cast / podcast producer, and he's a philosopher. He really teaches you history very well. He teaches you philosophy very well. He's also an individual that really gets deep into the geopolitical agenda and mind control techniques and mind control programs from all over the world. He's one who has done so much work. It's astounding how much reading this individual has done. I mean, just the veracity of how much knowledge this guy has collected is really crazy. But he has published 2 books, Esoteric Hollywood 1 and 2. And I recommend Jay Dyer. I don't completely agree with everything that he states, but for anybody trying to understand how to debate, anybody who's trying to understand what true philosophy actually is, anybody trying to understand how to logically deduce things, I mean, this guy is really good at teaching those things. Now, you got to filter through some of his information because he does have a lot. I would recommend his essays from his website, jdyer.com. But, I really like him when it comes to that kind of work. Another guy that I like, and he's a younger individual, Colin Smith, is a really good symbolist.
Oh, for sure.
He really gets into a lot of the... Right, yeah, I know you've listened to Colin Smith a lot, and I really appreciate his work. And, I've been following him for years, and I've even tried to get him to come speak and things like that, which could be a possibility in the future, and maybe even an interview with him, which would be awesome. But I really appreciate that kid's work, especially in the symbol literacy. And he gets really deep into the biology especially when it comes to mind control techniques and certain places that people are affected from certain techniques of mind control. And he also uses the law of correspondence, to a high level. So, thank you, Smith, for everything that you've done.
For sure. Yeah, him, and I would even put him up there, with, the works of David Icke and Jan Espiritu Santo. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I really, all three of these guys have done really, really great work, especially David Icke on what's currently going on, and Max Egan too, man. Max Egan's been doing fantastic at it, expressing that. And we can't forget David Whitehead, who I've been really watching a lot, and his work is fantastic on the things that are currently taking place and what's going on in consciousness, and calling out all the hypocrisy that's taken place. And I really just want to thank all those guys, because I know, and Derek Burrows too on 5G. All these people are just really, I give them a lot of props, because they're talking about things that no one else will, and they're really, putting up the fight, and they're being ridiculed on a daily, and it's just, this kind of information is so hard to express to people, because we're controlled this way. We're mind controlled to stay in our box and never look out of it. So I really appreciate them for what they've done.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned all of those individuals. You took a couple of them off my list there. Max Egan is one of the guys I was going to mention. And yeah, I like what you said. What I see with Cullen sometimes is that he really gets into the fake conspiracies and really brings the evidence base to prove them wrong when it comes to some of these fake ones. And I really like that he's doing that work to debunk some of these outlandish stuff like that.
Right, Michael Tsarion does that too.
Some stuff of Michael Tsarion, right? Yeah, I was going to mention Michael Tsarion also. He was one of the earlier individuals, along with Jordan Maxwell, that I actually started studying very, very frequently. And his work was just so amazing really early on, especially in the tarot and especially in symbolism. I really enjoyed his early works. I put him up there with Santos Bonacci and people like that. So yeah, Michael Tsarion's another one that I would recommend. And then another new cat that's came up, and his partner. I don't think I remember his partner's name, but Logan Hart and his partner. I can't remember his name. Do you remember his name, Nate?
I want to say. It starts with a B, or it's John. Maybe it's John.
Brian. It's Brian. Brian. I think it's Brian. Yeah.
Brian. Okay.
I can't remember his last name, but from the Wizard Factory, their podcast is really amazing.
Yeah.
Really love the work that they put out there.
Yeah, and Nathan Redette did an excellent presentation called "Natural Law is the Solution," and I'm anybody who is talking about natural law or morality, definitely get behind them, because they're out there trying to expose what's causing harm to us. And I think Nathan Redette really does an excellent job at exposing all the harm that's done in the world, especially to all sentient beings. And we definitely want to have him on the show as well soon, so definitely look out for that. Oh, there's this author called, his name is Richard Witherill, who wrote the book Right is Might. And it's a great book on natural law and morality. It has, many important points on ethical behavior and right and wrong. So definitely check out that book. It's pretty fantastic, very helpful. Right is Might.
Yeah, that book is really, really good. Yeah, I would like to do a whole episode eventually in the future like this with you, Nate, going over some authors that we would recommend, because I think we could really have a great episode of just authors, especially old authors that aren't around, like Manly P. Hall. I mean, Manly P. Hall is one of the most well-studied individuals that has lived in the past century, and I highly recommend all of his audio works and all of his books. So
he really inspired me to understand the world of, the solar cult and Freemasonry, and he did a book called The Secret Teachings of All Ages, which I highly recommend. And any audio that you can get of him is so worth it. So, and he kind of reminds me of Alan Watts a little bit too.
Go ahead. What was that? He reminds you of who?
Alan Watts. Like they just, they just kind of synchronize with each other. So.
Alan Watts is amazing, man. Any audio of Manly P. Hall is just so great. I used to listen to him, just when I was sleeping. I just put it on. A lot of people have issues with the way he talks, but it's like, I think it's soothing and very, I think it's his voice is what they are more so referring to, because it's kind of a strange voice to get used to, but, you overlook that so quickly when you hear what he has to say, because he is just such a beautiful spiritual being, one of the most enlightened beings that's probably ever existed on this planet.
Oh, for sure. Couldn't agree more. Yeah, and we're gonna talk about somebody really special here in a minute, but I just want to give props to someone I find to be very powerful in their work and their eclectic work, which is Gary Lockman, who wrote the brilliant book called Lost Knowledge of the Imagination, which is definitely one of my favorite books for understanding the history and rise and fall of imagination, through the centuries. And it's a very important key for following the ideas we've come to understand in imagination. And it's about understanding all the great minds that have given us the many keys of imagination to unlock the mysteries of the self and the universe that's within, I couldn't stress more to read that book, study that book, because imagination really is the key to all this. And if we don't have an imagination, it's because someone else is using it. And, that's very, very important to understand.
Yeah, I actually had not heard of him, Nate, so I'm going to look into him. And sounds like it's, right up my alley of something that I need to study a little bit more of.
Yeah, and John Rappaport, I think you've heard of him. He's brought on some really great information regarding imagination and, how to use it to break free from dominators who manipulate and control the minds of us, the masses. So,
right,
really,
I have heard
really,
of his
really
work.
important. Yeah, he's excellent, man. His work is excellent. It's very fascinating. But before we get off here, we're going to, there's so many people that we're not going to get to on the show. And maybe we'll do another show like this someday where we talk more about these people who've given us so much to work from and so much to look into. And, we really appreciate all these people's work. But there's someone who we really want to give a huge thanks to. Actually, I want to also thank you, Brandon, and I want to thank Douglas Martin, who, both of you guys have been completely fundamental to my awakening, and it's been a pleasure with both of you to, be in my life and kind of, on the same path so we can bounce ideas off each other and we can test each other and we call each other out and we really help each other figure out, what the truth really is. And I can't stress enough how thankful I am for, Douglas Martin for his work on the ancient Egyptian mythos, which includes Albert Churchward's work and Gerald Massey and a few others, but we're not going to get to that too much on the rest of the show. But Douglas Martin really has helped us understand the evolution of the mythos and understanding the stellar, the solar and lunar cults, the hero cults. And I know that you're doing a lot of work on that too, Brandon, and I thank you both for how much work you've done in those areas that most of us really don't. I haven't seen anybody else really talking about those, especially the stellar and lunar. And I think it's so great to know that there are people out there that are putting the time into origins, because origins is so key to understanding what's really taking place right now. And so I can't stress enough how thankful I am for you guys. And I know I'm not giving you the thanks that I really want to give, but I am in the sense of I helped make this platform for all three of us to expose what we know, and that includes both of you. So I want to thank you guys.
Well, thank you for saying that, Nate. I really appreciate that. I mean, that's kind of why I started the Seed Conference, was to bring us all together and to really push us into becoming proactive with the knowledge that we had been dealing with. I mean, it's really crazy that we have a family here that has stuck with each other to through the ins and outs of everything that's been going on. And we've really tried to help each other, like you said, to find our own errors and really push us forward into growth. So it's really nice to see that, all three of us and a few others definitely have been super influential in our own development and into the development of other people. So yeah, I think Douglas Martin as well, from the bottom of my heart. Without him, I would have never found some of these researchers, and without you, I wouldn't have had anybody to banter back and forth with on this stuff and really expand my mind, especially when it comes to green language and stuff like that. So, I want to thank both of you deeply as well.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. And, so this next person, the last person we're going to have time to give appreciation to is the one and only Mark Passio, who has, and I want to say, without Douglas Martin, I would have never, I don't know that I would have came in contact with Passio's work when I did. Maybe I would have, on down the line, but, Douglas is the one who turned me on to his work, and I was very fearful of Mark's work, because I was in a low state of consciousness where I was dismissive and, anything to do with, the boogeyman words, Satanism and Freemasonry and Illuminati. I was very, very skeptical, and and I understand, we're all conditioned to react that way, but I'm thankful that I pushed past those walls of emotional, responses, that I put these walls up against his work, because, I was so fearful, and especially knowing his background. But then once I started to really pay attention, I learned more from Mark Passio in 6 months than I did my whole life in these programmed educational, schools where they don't, obviously they're not teaching you anything but how to live by their standards. And I can't even believe that I came in contact with something that actually made me feel real and feel excited to be alive, because I started to realize what mind control actually is. I started to realize what, emotional mind control. One of the most powerful things that he brought to the table, and the most powerful thing I think anybody could ever discover, is natural law, the science of natural law. And getting into that really has changed my life so drastically. And, I could just spend a whole, 2 shows talking about this guy's work. or talking about him and what he's done for me. But, you know, the truth is that I'm extremely thankful for the hard work this guy has done to not only change his consciousness from his old ways into his new, but then to actually take on this extreme uphill battle and climb to the top of the mountain to where, you know, he has all this information, and then to come all the way back down the mountain with that information to give to the people for a chance to raise in consciousness and to actually see what's really happening to them within their self and around themselves. And I just don't really have all the words that I want to say to express my thanks to him and his research, and for having the balls to come out and say the things that he has, because without him, I feel like, I would just be still maybe stuck in my conspiracy ways, or I would still be possibly just, being negative and depressed and not seeing all the beauty in life. So I just want to say thanks, major thanks to Mark Passio.
Yeah, I mean, for those who do not know, a lot of my work, and I'm sure Nate's work and Doug's work, has been directly influenced by Mark Passio. He was a huge benefit in my life. And since I had found his work, which I found through Douglas had recommended me looking into his work. I think it was in 2012 or 13. It might have been a little bit later than that. But between 2012 and 2014, he had recommended me looking into Mark's work. And, when I found his work, I instantly resonated with his work at a spiritual level, at an intellectual level, and at an emotional level. And as I started to go through his podcast chronologically, it really gave me the tools that I needed to be able to really apply the things that I already knew. Because a lot of the stuff that he was talking about, especially when it comes to the problems and the people who run the world and things like this, I was pretty aware of, just not to the degree and to the intricacy that he could bring it to the table, and he really gave me the tools to be able to speak these things to people clearly and fluently. So I've designed and adapted a lot of his techniques for my own, so I could utilize that, because I know how well those techniques that they work, how well they actually work when you use them correctly. So you'll see a lot of similarities between our work, but it's not really any of our works. It's nothing new under the sun. So a lot of people might say, oh, people are just coattail riding or anything like that. Those things are completely irrelevant to you finding the truth about, who you are and about natural law and things like that. He doesn't own this work, and he'll tell you that directly. And he is a very down-to-earth, holistic, humble individual when it comes to all this stuff. And there is no thank you that I could ever put out there for him to speak the appreciation that I have for this individual. And, he appointed me the One Great Work Achievement Award last year in Philadelphia. And that was just such a high honor for me to receive. And I was not expecting that at all, but it's kind of strange as a little boy here. I've always felt such a deep connection to Mark, even though I hadn't met him earlier on. I had felt like there's something between us. Maybe we met in a past life or something like that. But there's just some deep spiritual connection. I'm not sure how many people get this from listening to him and stuff, but I know I felt like that I had known him for a long time, because maybe it was just how real he was speaking and how just down to earth he was speaking to people. And I'm used to that raw performance with no euphemisms, without sugarcoating anything. And that's how he was speaking. So he's speaking like an adult directly to other people, and I really appreciated that. But I always felt like this weird connection between me and him. And when he started to notice the things that I was doing a little bit, I was, really amped up about that. I was like, hell yeah, I'm glad that someone's paying attention. And I never expected anything from him or from anybody else. I don't need a thank you. I don't need anything like that from people. But, you know, not to say that it's not nice to hear those things. And I appreciate being thanked. I'm sure that Mark appreciates it as well. I mean, that's why we're doing this episode, is to give a shout out to all these people who work really hard and hopefully motivate people into looking into these people. But, you know, Mark, I give you my deepest thank you, spiritually, universally, from the deepest essence of my being, you know, for everything you've done and for the opportunities that you've given me, and I'm sure many of all the other people that watch your work, because without that, I wouldn't have put on the Seed Conference. We wouldn't be doing this podcast probably. I mean, without his work, it was pivotal for all of us in our journey. For us three initiates, you could say, me, Doug, and Nate here, to really go down this path. So yeah, thank you very much, Mark, and much, much love, and 93 agape, or agape.
For sure, man. Yeah, and, you know, what you were talking about with, you know, feeling like you've known him and you have this connection to him, it's funny because, you know, I've felt that too, and I think what that really is that when you're aligning with truth, when you're aligning with what other people's research is exposing, you do feel a closeness to them because you see what's real. You see the truth that's being revealed. And I think it's so important that we, you know, pay attention to deep things like that, because it even goes back to when I first did a caricature of Mark, I think probably like 5-6 years ago. And, you know, I posted it on his, one of his group pages, and he, on social media, and he, you know, I heard from Barb, his girlfriend of the time, or, you know, like I saw her go on there and say that Mark really liked the drawing and that she really liked it, and I thought it was so cool. But I just remember that, you know, it was this, you know, for whatever reason, I just knew that I was gonna eventually meet him someday, and I felt so aligned in what he was saying. But I knew that drawing, you know, wasn't, obviously, because it's a caricature, it doesn't mean that it's a jab. It doesn't mean I'm making fun of him. It just means, like, you know, I'm doing something that I'm using my creativity to send a message of, like, you know, I guess it was my message of appreciation back then, but, you know, also to, you know, make him laugh. But, you know, I knew that was, you know, that made me feel, you know, a closeness as well, not just in his work, but I just knew, like, man, I'd really like to be, you know, a friend of this person. And, you know, he's definitely my brother because, you know, he's principled, he's, you know, he's fighting for truth, and he's, you know, he's just a real dude. And, you know, he really gives it to you. He really gives you the truth, unlike anybody I've ever heard. And, you know, for that, I'm very thankful, and I can't express my thanks enough. So, yeah, man, we're coming up on the end, Brandon. So if there's anything else that you wanted to say.
No, I think we did really good with this. It's cool to get a little different perspective, bring up some people that influenced us in our journey, and I'm sure we'll talk about our journey a little bit more. I know I have plenty more to say about my upbringing and you know, just the craziness that has led to my true awakening. But yeah, I mean, I think this episode was really well-rounded, and I hope people enjoyed I really hope people look into the people that we're speaking of. So thanks for having me on again, Nate.
Yeah, man, thanks for being on, and thanks for giving your time to do this. I know it's a very, life is hard, and we're making this time to share with others. So this episode is at its end, guys, and I want to thank everyone that has helped us on this journey. And to the listener, we hope you've found clarity and value in this show, and you can find more shows, presentations, and news here at CubbyWhole.com. That's CubbyWhole.com. Also, please make sure to keep your eyes out for future shows as we go further into mind control. And as for now, a new show comes out every Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific time and every Friday at 12 p.m. Pacific time. So stay tuned for more. And I want to thank you and keep transcending dogma.
I gotta shut that alarm off. That was rough. Another amazing episode. Shout out to Jay Dyer. I'm actually reading Jay Dyer's book right now. Reading Jay Dyer's first book, Esoteric Hollywood. So yeah, he does a great job of explaining the debate thing, like they said, and Mark Passio, obviously. I just took Mark Passio's class, 2023. Oh. Yeah, I just took Mark Passio's class, How to Become the True Media Seminar 2023. Enrollment for 2024 is going to begin in April, I believe. So I highly recommend that class. It is 10 out of 10. I learned so much. And after I took that class, I would say the quality of the YouTube channel got much better. I started doing the thumbnails. I learned how to edit, although I don't have the equipment to edit right now, but I just got employed, so I'm gonna be getting to get the better equipment, and I'm gonna get OBS and all the software and all that good stuff, better mics, better screens, bigger monitors. I'm gonna do all that stuff. I'm really excited. I hope to do a presentation as well, and so look forward to the book review coming up. It'll be April 1st. It should be up April 1st, I believe. I only have about 50 pages of the book left, so. And it's really good. The notes are fun. I'm fired up on the notes. So thanks again if you made it this far. Shout out to Mark Passio and Jay Dyer. And I also like to give a shout out to Richard Grove, Catherine Waters, Maria West, Logan Hart. Will Keller's been doing a lot of great things on the Freedom Under Natural Law YouTube channel. Just look that up. Will Keller's been doing some fantastic presentations lately. His presentation series that he's been doing, and it's live too, so if you catch one live, you can throw up some comments and he'll give you a shout out at the beginning. Try to get a shout out. It's fun. It's fun. He's good. Interactive community, We're all a part of this together. When one suffers, we all suffer, and there's a lot of people suffering right now. We're trying to alleviate that suffering. All right, so thanks again if you made it this far. Shout out to W.GG. Use code BeagleEyeVision for 10% off your purchase. Delicious game fuel. I've been drinking W today during this gameplay. Man, the cherry limeade flavor is so good. Sugar free. It's really good stuff. I highly recommend it. Thank you, W. Yeah, stay tuned for more. Stay tuned and stay golden.